take home the Golden Gloves, you've got to put in the work, and you've got to be tough as nails. Ashley Kalis was driven to achieve. Today, Kalis is still fueled by that same hope, grit, and determination. A mother of 3 school-aged boys and successful business owner who ran testing and vaccination sites across the state. Kalis is the fighter Rhode Island needs right now because it's time for a change. Ashley Kalis for governor.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live Wednesday night podcast. We are so grateful to have all of you with us tonight, and tonight is no different than any other one of our shows, except for the fact that tonight is a very important topic. We are talking about ABLE accounts and the 529 accounts for college-bound students. So we have a great show ahead for you, so buckle up and welcome my guests. Hi, Chris. Hi, Vicki. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to be talking about this topic because it is a hot topic of the disabled community saving money. So this is an important topic tonight. I'd like for each of you to take a few minutes to introduce yourself and to tell us what you do. Vicki, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Vicki Ferrara, and I work at the Sherlock Center on Disabilities at Rhode Island College as the coordinator to access to integrated employment. And one of my main duties is to direct the work incentive planning and assistance program, where we educate people about working and impact on entitlement programs like SSI, SSDI, housing, SNAP, etc.
That is exciting, and I cannot wait to get into more of that topic. Chris, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yes. So hi, everyone. My name is Chris Civitolo, and I'm the Director of 529 Savings Programs at the Rhode Island Office of the General Treasurer. And as part of my duties, in addition to overseeing, as you alluded to, Tina, our College Bound program, which is our 529 savings program designed for families to save for education, I also help to oversee the ABLE program, which we're obviously talking about tonight.
Oh, that's awesome. And you were telling me behind the scenes, Vicki, that you and Chris have formed a partnership that you have been working together. Can you tell everybody a little bit about the partnership that you guys have?
Well, I think the Treasurer's Office and Chris and myself, we are really focused on promoting independence of people with disabilities. And one of the things is to promote ABLE accounts. So over the past few years, Chris and I worked together, created a webinar focused on ABLE accounts, which does a nice overview and provides a really detailed PowerPoint to help people get into the weeds on ABLE accounts.
Oh, that is amazing. Chris, for those who may not know, tell everybody what an ABLE account actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. So ABLE stands for Achieving Better Life Experience. And essentially, the ABLE Act was passed by Congress back in 2014 And Rhode Island was one of the first states to actually offer an ABLE program. And really, very, very simply, if you kind of strip everything down, ABLE accounts and the ABLE Act essentially was designed to allow individuals with disabilities to save for qualified disability expenses in a tax-free and flexible way, and probably most importantly, in a way that does not impact public benefit programs, specifically like SSI, SSDI, and Medicaid, which, for individuals with disabilities, unfortunately, prior to ABLE, one of the real significant barriers for them we're kind of pushing up against resource limits, right? So when you think about folks who are on SSI or Medicaid, they typically are only able to have $2,000 or less, of assets on hand. And what ABLE accounts essentially allow these individuals to do is actually dramatically increase that amount to $100,000 without impacting their eligibility for those programs.
Yeah, that's great. And for those that may not realize, I mean, just the idea of not being able to have more than $2,000 in your savings account. Just yesterday, they put on $2,000 worth of equipment on my power chair for wear and tear, between batteries, wheels, armrest, seat rest. It came to somewhere just around $2,000. Now, I would have to drain my savings account just to pay for that and then have nothing to back up. So that's why these ABLE accounts are so important, because it gives us that flexibility to replace our equipment, to upgrade our equipment, and to keep it running in the way we have to. Vicki, does the ABLE accounts affect work share? Like, if you were to get a job, because I know right now, if you were to work, that impacts your SSI or SSDI. You can only work in a certain amount of limits. Does the ABLE accounts affect that?
So ABLE accounts do not count towards the resource limits on for eligibility for SSI, as well as it doesn't count towards other entitlements like food stamps or housing subsidies. But what it does do, it allows people to work to be able to save money. So a lot of people who become employed, if they were disabled before the age of 26, right? ABLE accounts do have an eligibility requirement, and it's age related. But so it allows individuals to establish an ABLE account, and so they can save money. And there's other ways that people can contribute to the ABLE accounts that Chris can talk about.
Yeah, Chris, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Vicki mentioned, just, kind of important just to sort of in really broad strokes, just talk about eligibility. So, as Vicki alluded to, really there are kind of a couple of, eligibility criteria. So, the first is really that the disability, the age of onset of the disability needs to be before age 26. And then as long as that's met, if someone is receiving SSI or SSDI, they're automatically eligible, even if they're not receiving SSI or SSDI, as long as they meet the Social Security Administration's definition of a disability and have a certification from a physician, they're eligible. And then, like Vicki said, one of the nice things about ABLE is that there are really flexible ways to contribute, including contributing earnings if you are working. So there is a per year contribution limit of $16,000, and that can be from all sources. So yourself, friends, family. If you're working, though, you're also able to contribute extra. And I won't kind of go into too much of the, or to go into the weeds too much there. But in general, it's around another $12,000 or the amount of your gross earnings, whichever is less. So there's a lot of flexibility around that. And, in terms of how you can contribute, that's also very flexible. So most folks that are in the Rhode Island ABLE program are either contributing simply via EFT, electronic funds transfer. So just linking a checking or savings account to their ABLE account and then making deposits that way. We also have a gifting platform. So if friends or family want to make a contribution on behalf of an able beneficiary, they can do that. And then for those folks that are working, they can actually contribute directly from payroll direct deposit. So from their employer, they can set up a deduction directly from that as well.
That's a great. One thing I want to talk about that you have mentioned a couple of times is having your disability onset before the age of 26. So somebody like me who became paralyzed when I was 40 wouldn't not be able to use the Able account, or am I mistaken?
No, that's correct. The good news is that, and Vicki, we've talked about this in the past on some of the webinars that we've done. There is a pretty significant push going on at the federal level right now to actually increase that age of onset from 26 to 46. So for anyone who's interested, it's referred to as the Able Age Adjustment Act, and hopefully that will get passed. When it will get passed, I don't know. Again, it's been in the works for a few years, but I know that there's very good positive momentum around that. So, that's something that we're definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, that is something, like I said, I mean, there's so many of us who, spinal cord injuries, we don't have a like CP or MD, but, a spinal cord injury caused us to now get to use these cool wheels for the rest of my life. Having the ability to be able to save money would be amazing. Vicki, how could somebody support that bill if they wanted to make sure that that was something that would take place?
I think with all legislation, people can call their legislators to ask that they support the bill. I heard recently that this is federal legislation, so they may have an upper limit, but locally, if one of our local legislators gets 2 calls, they think it's a hot issue. So you need to call or write letters and speak out to let your congressmen and senators know that you would like them to support the issue.
Yeah, so everybody listening across the country, make sure you write to your legislators, because this is a federal bill that we want to make sure that age gets lifted. Chris, what is that bill called again, just so people know which one they're asking for?
Yeah, so it's referred to as the Able Age Adjustment Act.
So the Able Age Investment, make sure you're writing to your local legislators so we can get that passed. So somebody like me could start saving some money. That would be an amazing thing to do. So let's get that passed. Vicki, going back to, if you were to work and take a contribution to your Able account, does that count towards how much money you make?
Yeah, so Social Security has formulas they use for both SSI and SSDI. Both programs have different rules, but earnings are counted. So if you work, if you earn money, that has to be reported to the Social Security Administration. SSI has to report one way and SSDI reports a different way. So, and if you get both benefits, you have to report to both entitlement programs. Able accounts, how it would help somebody is that if you're on SSI, which has a resource limit, right? For an individual, it's $2,000. For a couple, it's $4,000. If your bank account would be going over $2,000, putting money in an Able account would protect that money and would also not be counted as long-term resource, right? So the wages count, they'll have to count the wages, but money that you save, if put in the Able account, would not count towards your resource limits. Would you say that's a good description, Chris?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mentioned it kind of, the opening, essentially the significant benefit, of saving with an Able account is that, instead of that $2,000 resource limit, you can go as high as $100,000 with zero impact to SSI, and in the event that you go over that, the amount over the $100,000 in addition to, any assets that you might be holding outside of an ABLE account, would be counted against your limit. And if you were to, temporarily exceed that, your SSI benefits would be paused until that balance, came down. But you'd still continue to be eligible for Medicaid regardless of your balance. So, for most of our account owners in Rhode Island and even nationwide, for ABLE accounts, fortunately, most folks, are able to really derive pretty great benefit with balances, even lower than $100,000. So it's a good problem to have if you were to, exceed that. But, I think Vicky's description was very accurate.
Again, people are focused on the Medicaid, Tina, right? So, Medicaid has the resource limit, and people do need their health insurance. So it allows people to, again, save money and be able to retain their health insurance by maintaining their eligibility.
It's such a great idea, and it's such a great account. Like I said, we just need to open it up now to more and more people. Chris, how does somebody go about starting one of these? Should it be the parent? Should it be the person themselves? And where would they even go to get the information to get one of these started?
Sure. So the easiest way to start the process for Rhode Islanders would be to visit ri.savewithable.com. That's our plan's website. If you're not in Rhode Island, we are part of a consortium referred to as the National ABLE Alliance. It's about 20 other states in addition to Rhode Island. So the general website is just savewithable.com. But if you're listening in from Rhode Island, you can just visit ri.savewithable.com. And you can actually enroll online. It takes about 15 minutes. To your question, depends on, age, right? So for, let's say, you're a parent who is saving for, a 10-year-old with a disability. The parent, right, would open the account on behalf of, the child. But, let's say you're, a 24-year-old with a disability, you're able to open up an account and name yourself as obviously the account owner and fully control that account and the beneficiary. So it really depends on, age and kind of circumstances, but easiest way to open it is at that website, ri.savewithable.com. And you'll see a link to enroll online, go through the process, and it only takes $25 for an initial contribution to get it set up, and then you can contribute from there.
And I highly recommend that parents do it as early as possible and have people contribute because, picture somebody, a 10-year-old in a wheelchair, they're going to outgrow their wheelchair many, many times, as they're growing, as they're aging, that having that money is better than having to do a GoFundMe or fundraiser along the way while they're growing and aging for each time they need a new mobility device or a new piece of equipment, or, when they're ready to drive, they're going to need that accessible van that we know are so far out of reach. It's the largest fundraiser across the country for any disabled person is for one of those vans. So if you start saving early and get contributions, you're going to be halfway to the goal by the time your child needs it. So I highly recommend that people get these accounts opened as soon as possible. Vicki, do you see any downside to having one of these accounts, or, let's highlight some more of the positive for parents to opening these accounts?
So, knowing that I was coming on the show, I did some outreach to people who are ABLE account users to kind of get their take on what they like about the account and any challenges they've experienced. And really, I don't see a downside because the money can be easily accessed and used for disability related expenses in all aspects of life. So it can be used to support work, school, healthcare, living arrangements, social recreation. So the categories of how the money can be used is very flexible. There are criteria that they have to meet, and there's certain standards or they have to keep track of how the money is being spent. But I also heard very good things about it's easy to track using the tools within the Able account platform. So I think families are using the accounts to help save for future education. People are saving. You mentioned saving for vehicles. Somebody said that example was, I'm saving because I know my van ramp is going to break, and so I want to have some money as a down payment to be able to put towards that. We have people using the money for all sorts of reasons to support a better quality of life.
Yeah, that is like saying, and it's not if the ramp is going to break, it's when the ramp is going to break.
Yeah.
So having that, so having that money put aside, it's like I said, they're going to break. So it's not an if, it's a when. So being prepared is the best way. Chris, could you tell us a little bit about taking the money out and keeping track of it so people kind of really understand that point? It's not like a regular checking or savings account utilized. It's different.
Yeah, for sure. Common question that we get. So in general, as Vicki mentioned earlier, once you set up and establish an Able account, let's just use the example of a parent establishing it for a child. At any point, as soon as that account is open, the parent is able to withdraw any of the contributions that they've made and earnings tax-free, as long as they're used for those qualified disability expenses that Vicki was talking about. And from a logistics standpoint, the way that you would do that is also very easy and very flexible. It's as easy as going back online to the account that you established, selecting the amount of money that you need to take out. And then for most people, it's actually just simply having that money sent via direct deposit, to their checking or savings account that they've linked to their Able account. You can always, of course, have a paper check sent as well. In terms of kind of reconciliation and tracking, really, like Vicki said, you'll make your withdrawal in a specific dollar amount. And then the important thing is really just to keep track, whether it's via invoice, receipts, whatever, for what you use that money for. Now, we'll never, the Able Plan, Rhode Island's Able Plan, will never ask you specifically what that money is used for. And in most cases, you'll never actually have to provide any backup documentation. The only reason why we say that is just in general, it's a great idea to ensure that you're reconciling it in the event that the IRS or Social Security ever has a question about expenses and the distributions that you've taken. You just want to make sure that you're able to match those up. But in general, it's a very, very easy, convenient, flexible process. And as soon as you establish your account, you can 2 days later, 5 days later, take money out for any of the expenses that you might need to use them if you're just doing monthly expenditures.
Yeah. What a great idea. I mean, I just love this whole idea. Vicki, can you give us any kind of example? I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but it just popped into my head. Can you give us any kind of an example of somebody trying to use that money for something that isn't medically, you know what I'm saying? Like give us some examples of what you can't use the money for.
What you can't use the money for? Actually, I'm going to defer to Chris to give that examples. I'm more focused on what people can spend the money on.
I just know like people are going to ask me that question.
Yeah.
Like, you keep saying that, medically approved, but I just want to give people some examples of what you can't use the money for.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, I mean, right. Let's go back to the definition. So it's qualified disability expense. And, the way that the Able Act was written, in relation to that, it's really, it's kind of, I think I can quote it word for word from memory. It's any expense that's incurred as a result of living with a disability, and can improve your, as an able beneficiary, your quality of life or well-being. And it's really, it's very expansive. It's health and wellness, education, transportation, housing, assistive technology, support services, oversight. I would honestly struggle to, I'm sure you could find something that maybe doesn't count. I don't know. I think, in fact, someone on a webinar that Vicki and I did asked a question about, what if I go to a casino and, play blackjack? Does that count? Probably not. But other than that, it's really, it's pretty expansive and all encompassing. So I think there are very few things that wouldn't meet that definition.
Yeah, see, that's the way I look at it. But if you're at the blackjack table and you're winning, that makes your mental health better. So that improves your quality of life. So you can always make it work for you.
There you go.
Let's not stretch it that far, but
maybe it's right up to the point of blackjack. We'll see.
Yeah. So, but it's such a great idea. Now, I don't know which one of you want to answer this question, but here's my next question. What is the difference between the 529 and the ABLE plan?
Yeah, so I can definitely take that one. So the 529 plan in Rhode Island, the College Bound program, like I mentioned, at the beginning of the podcast, 529 accounts are specifically designed, for individuals and families to save for higher education expenses. So think, trade school, 2-year, 4-year college, graduate school. There's also now K-12 tuition up to $10,000. Whereas ABLE, you can kind of think of it as a sister, right, of a 529 account. It's same kind of premise, but it's designed for individuals to save for disability related expenses as opposed to higher education expenses. So they're very similar, a lot of the same concepts, rules, apply, but the main difference is just 529, think education, ABLE, think qualified disability expenses, which again, as we talked about, for some folks can include education.
So 529 is for like everybody, whether you have a disability or not, and the ABLE accounts are for people with disabilities. Am I correct with saying that?
Right, exactly. So for ABLE accounts, getting back to what we mentioned about eligibility criteria, you have to have, right, onset of a disability prior to age 26, be on SSI or SSDI, or have a physician, certify that. Whereas with 529 accounts, there's no criteria related to that.
Perfect. And Vicki, working at the Sherlock Center, which is centered in the center of Rhode Island College, you must see a lot of students at the Sherlock Center talking about these accounts and everything. Is it more expensive for a person with disability to go to college or to attend college than it would be for somebody else? That is one question I get all the time.
So though I work at the college, I'm not in admissions or in the tuition department or any of that. So this is just my observation.
Okay.
I think people with disabilities, just living with a disability is more expensive than living without a disability. People with disabilities often have higher transportation costs to get around. So to get to school could be more expensive. Sometimes the assistive technology they may need to have the accommodations to participate effectively in their education. So the type of computer they have or the type of software they have to support their learning, those things may be additional expenses. Some people might need additional tutoring. That could be an incurred expense. So I think, living with a disability, there's just typically more expenses to that. And so saving in an ABLE account may be able to offset some of those expenses when you get to that point of pursuing education.
And that makes a good point to why we need to raise the age of 26 to 46, which I would onset before 46, but I'm turning 50 on Tuesday. So, I'd be, the next step up on that one. But now my next question that I usually get, and Chris, you'll probably be with a better one to say, should people that has a child with a disability do a 529 plan and an ABLE account if they plan on their child going to higher education? Should they do both, or would one suffice and help occur to both? What would be your suggestion?
Yeah, so it's a personal decision, right? And I don't want to speak for everybody. What I would say is I would look at again, specifically for a child with a disability, ABLE accounts and their flexibility are going to provide, I think personally, a lot more benefit than just a 529 account. Because again, remember with a 529 account, you've got to specifically, if you want to take advantage of, the tax benefits and do it tax-free, it's got to be for education. So if you're using your example, if you've got a family with a child that has disabilities, what if they just open a 529 account and they need to take out distributions to pay for, a wheelchair or, extra tutoring, other things like that, technically those wouldn't be considered qualified. Whereas if they have the ABLE account, really everything is qualified, up to and including education. So, in terms of, I think probably getting the most benefit and making sure that you're covering probably the widest, stretch in terms of qualified expenses, it probably in general would be, more advantageous to open the ABLE account. But, again, certainly personal decision, and different families might have different circumstances, but I would stress that ABLE accounts, that's why they were created, right? That's why they're specifically designed for that. So you're getting more advantages out of having that versus strictly a 529 account.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think if you have a child with a disability, you definitely need to open an ABLE account. I think having the extra 529 account wouldn't be a bad idea, especially if your child is talking about going to college, because sometimes you're talking more than 4 years for them going to college. So, they may need that extra. Now, what happens if they do open one of each and they don't use the 529 account? How does that negatively impact them when they go to take it out or, repurpose it? I know they're going to have to pay taxes for one, but.
Well, the nice thing is that they actually can, and a lot of our account owners and ABLE account owners across the nation have actually run into that situation where maybe they started with a 529 account, and actually the way that the act is written, and with some enhancements that have been made to it, since it was first enacted in 2014, you can now do a tax-free rollover from a 529 account to an ABLE account. So you don't have to actually deal with those negative tax consequences. So that's actually the easiest way if you find yourself or a family finds themselves in that situation, is just simply do a tax-free rollover from their ABLE plan, or from their 529 plan to an ABLE account.
So it's not a bad idea to have both, because like I said, if you don't use it, you could always roll it back into your ABLE account. So that way you would have it, but it gives you a little bit more of a ceiling by having the 100,000 in the ABLE account and having the 529 account as a backup. Because we all know colleges are going up year after year, that, you're talking $25,000, $30,000 a year going to school. That's 4 years in your ABLE account, or having a 529 to back it up. So it's kind of like an ideal to have both and then roll it over if you don't need it.
Yeah, that could certainly work, for some families. Like I said before, I think it's important, for everyone to, kind of evaluate all of their options and kind of the circumstances that they're in. But that's definitely one idea.
Yeah. Vicki, does a lot of people come into the Sherlock Center asking you about these accounts, or can they go into the Sherlock Center and look for you to help them with these accounts, or is that not the place for them to go?
That is not the place for them to go. If they want to open up an ABLE account. What we do is provide information and education. So what we find is that, a portion of the people who come to us for work incentive information or benefits counseling, a small number are aware of ABLE accounts, most are not. So we're able to educate them about the ABLE account, what the benefits are of an ABLE account, and provide them the resources to connect with the Treasurer's Office or the Rhode Island, the RI Saves ABLE account website, and give them the customer service information so that they can pursue that on their own. So we provide information. That's our role.
Yeah, and that's great to know, because I know so many people, especially if they're in the disability world, they know of the Sherlock Center and they think it's the be all end all to disability in the state of Rhode Island. So that's why I asked that question, to kind of clear that up, because everybody's like, I'll just go to the Sherlock Center. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. That's not where you need to go. You need to go see Chris at the Treasurer's Office and do that. Now, Chris, the same question sort of to you. Do you have one-on-one counselors that can sit and walk people through setting up these accounts?
Yeah, so we actually have local customer service representatives through our program manager, Census College Savings, who we're fortunate enough to work with for both our 529 program and our ABLE program. And they have client service reps available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, that can assist with account setup, general questions once you become an account owner. Obviously, maintenance questions, can help process distributions, make contributions. I'll share the number later too, but just for anyone who's listening right now, you can reach them at 888-609-8915. And again, they're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then, as Vicki mentioned, just, for any other inquiries, or if people are, just want a little bit more information or more comfortable, speaking with us, obviously our office, the Treasurer's Office, is, is happy to answer any questions about it. But, we're really fortunate to have a great client service team at a Census that can, handle a large amount of inquiries.
Yeah, and I shared the link, the Rhode Island SaveWithABLE.com in the chat, so people can go there if you're listening from Rhode Island. And is it SaveWithABLE.com for the rest of the country?
For the rest of the National ABLE Alliance, so SaveWithABLE.com. So we're part of, I mentioned earlier, the NAA, National ABLE Alliance, and it's a consortium of about 20 states, across the nation. About, I think we're up to about 45 or 46 states in total that have ABLE plans, but not all of them are affiliated with our consortium, the National ABLE Alliance. But for the other states that are in that alliance, yeah, it's SaveWithABLE.com.
So SaveWithABLE.com, and like I said, if you're listening here from Rhode Island, it's Rhode Island SaveWithABLE.com, and that will bring you to a website that is local, so it can give you a little bit more guidance of where you can go in our little state here of Rhode Island. But if you just contact this, the Treasurer's Office, I'm sure they could guide you in the right direction to whatever places you need. And I know so many people want one-on-one. Do they send somebody one-on-one to somebody's house, or do they have to go out to get that information?
Yeah, so, with a client service team, with our partners at a Census, that's done over the phone or via email. There are not one-on-one appointments. However, we do some outreach. We do have a couple of individuals, that are able to attend events or, info sessions. So if someone needs some support, in that manner, we can definitely accommodate that. But, certainly in a kind of a post COVID world, we found that, most folks have really, they found it very easy, efficient, and flexible, to speak with someone right over the phone, or, again, via email.
And Tina, You know,
Go
when
ahead.
I did the I gathered feedback, overwhelmingly people said the customer service assistance was exceptional. They felt like people were very responsive. They answered the phone. They took time to walk them through the process. You know, people have to choose between a checking account or a different types of, what do you call them? What's the
Savings
other?
accounts.
Not a
Investment
savings account. What's the other
just
kind?
investment options. Yeah.
Investment
So,
options.
yep.
Thank you. And the staff were very, very helpful to helping them understand their options, and really made it easy for them. So I think that's a plus.
Yeah, and that's the consumption that I've been getting to when I've been talking to a lot of people, that, you know, the treasurer's office is very open and the customer service lines are very open and responsive to getting back to individuals and, you know, meeting them where they are. And, you know, that's a high plus. You know, Rhode Island's not known for a lot of really good things. We're getting there, but but having a responsive program and an office is a huge, especially when you're talking about disability and people are already, you know, worried about what they're going to do. So we thank you for that, because it's a huge help to us, and it's one less thing off our plate when we're trying to do something, you know, when it comes to money and doing the right thing, so you don't lose your SSI or SSDI or your ticket to work program and everything. You know, Vic, I'd like you to take a quick moment though and kind of go over some of the things that the Sherlock Center does, so people know what to utilize it for.
Sure. So the Sherlock Center is a University Center of Excellence on Developmental Disability, and we are charged with doing information dissemination, research, technical assistance, and supporting pre-service, which means college students, people at a graduate level or a master's or higher. We kind of cover birth through life issues related to disability. Developmental disability is a big focus, but we are also doing educational supports for students with visual impairments. We have staff who support youth who need educational advocacy through our Educational Advocates program. We also, for the developmental disability community, provide plan writing services and brokerage services. And then we also do a lot of training and technical assistance in early intervention, employment, autism, and a variety of other things.
Yeah.
We're really an educational, we have an educational focus to what we do. And the other thing that we do that I'm involved in is doing education around work incentive information, as well as one-on-one benefits counseling for those people who are wanting to go back to work or working.
Thank you so much for that. And one of my guests, Henry, would like to know what we would go to the treasurer's office for to break down all of the things that the treasurer's office does. So Chris, could you handle that for us?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, we're our office, Rhode Island Office of the General Treasurer, you know, we are the sponsor and administrator of the ABLE program in conjunction with our Office of Health and Human Services here in Rhode Island, just as we're the sponsor and administrator of the College Bound program. So, you know, really think of us as the, you know, state agency and kind of initial point of contact for anyone, you know, in Rhode Island who is interested in ABLE. You know, again, we're fortunate enough to have our partners at Census, who they're the program managers, so kind of all of the day-to-day operational considerations and items. You know, they're handling that in conjunction with us. But you know, really anyone who's interested in ABLE, you know, can certainly start, you know, kind of their inquiry with us, and we're happy to point you in the right direction, give you more information about the program, any other questions that you may have, and then obviously connect you, you know, with our partners at Census.
That is great. And I'm getting a lot of thank yous and saying that the treasurer's office is very open and welcoming and responsive. I'm also hearing that great things about the Sherlock Center. I'm kind of scanning through some of the live comments that I'm getting because I'm watching it live as I'm talking to you. I can multitask. See, us disability people, we can multitask. So see, we got something in common. But a lot of people are saying thank you for everything that you do and having these able accounts. I am getting asked if you could go over again, Chris, about how to write to our legislators and what the name of that bill is so people can support that, because we have a lot of SEI people on who would love to be able to take advantage of this.
Yeah, so the name of this is called the Able Age Adjustment Act. And actually, I'm just pulling up. It looks like it's, if you need the bill number, it looks like it's S as in Sam dot 331. But again, if you just refer to it as the Able Age Adjustment Act, depending on where you live, I'm sure your legislators will be very familiar with it. And yeah, I mean, we would just encourage, as I said, it's kind of been a multi-year, kind of initiative and push. I believe that there's actually going to be some hearings scheduled on it, even potentially, later this year or this session. It's in, I believe, the Senate Finance Committee. So, anyone who does want to take a look at it and learn more about it, you can simply search for Able Age Adjustment Act or refer to S.331. And then, I just encourage you to, reach out, to your legislator or legislators and tell them that you support it.
And for everybody listening, I will look up that bill and I will post the link. So that way you guys will just be able to go under this chat and the link will be right there so you can read the bill and find out who your legislator is and how you can support this. Thank you so much. This is so informative. And like I said, we're getting a great response online because this is such an important topic to this community about being able to save more money and planning for the future, especially parents of children who their children have some kind of disability or use a mobility aid or medical equipment. Saving as early as possible is going to save you a big headache down the road. So if you know your child is going to have a disability, set up your account as soon as possible. Make it on your to-do list. Go down and get this started, because I'll tell you, it's expensive to be disabled and it's even more expensive when you can't save money. So get started. This program is there. Rhode Island is a champion for this program. They were one of the first states to sign on. So take advantage of that. Do everything you can for your family. I want you each to give your last plea of why people should use these two programs, the 529 program and the ABLE. I mean, I know we've been covering it extensively, but now that we're nearing the end of the hour, I want you to give your last plea and how people can contact. Vicki, I'm going to start with you.
I think people need to use ABLE accounts because it allows people to save money and still be eligible for Medicaid, which is often a very important part to somebody's well-being, to cover medical expenses, etc. Also, having an ABLE account, I think people can work, and working has so many benefits besides the financial to somebody with a disability. It has emotional and physical well-being, as well as financial well-being. So I think ABLE accounts really can help somebody really overall improve the quality of their life because they get the ability to save.
And just on that note about working, if you're a business owner listening to this podcast, hire the disability community, because I'll tell you, you are not going to get a better employee, because what better employee than an employee that has to prove something? And we are proving something every day because we love proving people wrong. I love it when people tell me that I can't do something and I show them that I can. So make sure you're reaching out and you're hiring the disabled community, because now that we can save money, we want to work for you. So make sure you're reaching out and hiring us. Chris, give us your final plea and why people should sign up for these accounts.
Yeah, I would definitely echo Vicky's thoughts. I think really the main thing is opportunity, right? I think without able, unfortunately for too long, individuals with disabilities really haven't had the same opportunities to save, especially if they're on Medicaid or they're on SSI or SSDI. I mean, $2,000 that's not enough for folks, to kind of build their future with, or even to manage, their day-to-day lives. And it really does kind of strip away some opportunities that I think a lot of us take for granted. So, I think what ABLE has done so well is allowed those folks to be on, the same level playing field as everyone else, and to not only support and kind of supplement maybe some of the benefit programs that they're getting right now, but to also go beyond that, right? And to save for a down payment on their first house, or to save for education, or other services that will obviously benefit them and give them the opportunities that they deserve.
Yeah, and I go ahead, Vicki.
Can I just add two things?
Yep.
One is you mentioned employers reaching out to hire people with disabilities, and they could connect with me. I am well connected within the workforce development system, and can link employers to a variety of organizations that help people with disabilities to become employed. One being the Ocean State Employer Service Network, and we have monthly meetings and employers can come in and talk about their job opportunities. So I'd love to have employers connect with me. And the other is people have lots of questions about going to work and the impact on their benefits, and there are lots of myths out there about that. So I would really encourage people to seek out one-on-one benefits counseling, and people can do that throughout the country by accessing the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance program that's sponsored by the Social Security Administration. So I'm going to put the number for the Ticket to Work helpline in the chat. So if people have interest in wanting to learn more about how working impacts benefits, they can access that resource.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, working is so empowering, and you know what I mean? I love to do it. And I work with a lot of businesses and show them how to help. I help train the employees. I help train their employees to interact with the disabled community, or to be great employees at their businesses as well. So there's so many resources for businesses, for people, for the ABLE accounts, for everything. I mean, Rhode Island is such a great small state, but across the country, they have these programs across the country. So if you reach out to me, I can hook you up with the organization in your state to help you out. But if you live in Rhode Island or work in Rhode Island, definitely reach out to us, because we can hook you up. It's just so important to do so many different things, and to have everybody to have this. Thank you guys so much for taking the time tonight to being part of the show. What such an amazing topic that people want to connect with. Chris, can you give us that website one more time?
Yep, and I'll put it in the chat too. So it's ri.savewithable.com. And if you're listening or are interested and do not live in Rhode Island, you could just visit savewithable.com.
And can you give us a number again, Vicki, for the Sherlock Center?
The Sherlock Center can be reached at 401-456-8072, and the Ticket to Work helpline, which is a national helpline, you can call 866-968-7842.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I can't thank you enough for talking about this topic. And it was great spending the night with you. And if you forgot anything that they said or how to connect, just message me and I will connect you with these amazing people, and they will set you in the right direction. So message me if you forgot everything else, and I will get you in contact with Vicki and Chris. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we'll be talking to you soon. And for everybody else, I welcome you back next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, same time, same channel. We will be talking to the Contemporary Theater and about all abilities working in the theater. I cannot wait for this show. It is so much fun. I have seen so many theater productions of disabled people not playing disabled roles, just happening to utilize a mobility device or a wheelchair, and you get so engrossed in the show you don't even realize it. So join us right back here next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And as I always say, don't just sit there, make a difference.